welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Hana Resya Anindya from UN Syarif Hidayatullah, Jakarta. So today I would like to share with you about 10 articles that I have read it, learning it, and now. So I want to tell the review for you all guys. So without any further ado, let's go to the video. Okay, so for the article summary that I have read it and learning, it's talk about how to teach vocabulary for young learners. So let's go to the topic. Okay. Okay, for the first is about the content of this review. So the first article that I summarize is the first. It's the implementation of vocabulary building strategy in the teaching English vocabulary to young learners by Sharifvel and Hairudin. The second is effect of song on the development of vocabulary among first grade EFL learners by Gulsum Savic, Bas and Nergis Stumurtesi and Anissa Bede. Promoting vocabulary, building learning, motivation, and a culture representation through a digital storytelling for young Indonesian learners of English as foreign language by Dana Kristiwan, Sandy Ferdiansyah, and Michelle Pitcher. And number four is the impact of implementation argument related to enhance the vocabulary of the young EFL learners by Kaldel Abihomran and Sultan Al-Hattab. And number five is a chatting with EI with EI bot vocabulary learning assistant for Saudi EFL learners by Rim El Sadom. And the number six is a spacing effect and the vocabulary learning young EFL learners in the focus by Amir Reza Hani and Hadi Sahlegi. The number seven is an investigation of teaching ads used by English teacher in the teaching vocabulary for young learners by Igede Heri Sanjaya, Nilu Putu Eka Sulistia Dewi, and Anak Agung Gede Yuda Paramata. And number eight is an evaluation of the use of flashcard for teaching a vocabulary at the kindergarten in the Sintang by Henry Elisa Entity. And number nine is the application of communicative language teaching method of in vocabulary teaching by Lilik Liliawati and Aprilia. And then the last one, that number 10, is improving young learners vocabulary mastery through game-based learning using Movin Mystery Box by Saftia Annie Pedia Ningrum, Safira Artatina Dewayanti, and Nailule Altar. So next, okay, so we got to the first material. Okay, so this is one. The first material is the implementation of vocabulary strategy teaching English vocabulary for young learners by Safrisol and Hayurdi. So the general problem area is teaching English has the development dramatically because the globalization impact and everyone should understand English as their language, international language. And in this implementation, they want to a teacher as an important role for young learners needs to manipulate some strategy to support the teaching of and learning process in the vocabulary. So the major find and the next is the major finding from the author from the Sharifal and Hayuddin is are divided into the three findings. So the first one, the material. So the material and they use it in how to vocabulary building strategy is by the teacher in the teaching of vocabulary is picture, realita and reality thing, video and student English book. And the second is like the how the technique of teaching English vocabulary. The teaching is the teaching technique of vocabulary building strategy used by the teacher is a translator, memorizing, playing games, and sing song. And then the last is the problem face the teacher and the student in the teaching learning process. The teacher has a problem in motivating the student to learn a vocabulary and manage the classroom. And student, they are feel hard to learn because sometimes the student don't know the meaning of the word in Indonesia or the feel hard to memorize vocabulary. And some students have a low motivation in English learning because they often play with friends and listen. So this is the impact of that not the impact the bad thing that the problem may be when the teacher must have to motivate the student because sometimes in Indonesia also me that they don't know how to the meaning that and hard to memorize the vocabulary. So the implementation teaching this is want to improve that the student about that how they feel about how to know the meaning of and how to memorize the vocabulary for the student. So I think the teacher must have a lot of motivation for improve the student when they forget about the vocabulary. So next. Okay, so the next is the effect of a song on the development of vocabulary first grade EFL learner by Gulsum Stefiglas, Nergis, Yumurtechi, and Anissa Mede. So the general problem is the most is the children enjoy listening to the song, which is play a like a crucial role in their development and in the intellectual, socially, and also emotionally. It's obvious that songs are the part of the children's daily routine, and they can as easily transmitted by the transmitted to the young learners' classroom as an effective pedagogical tools to teach and second foreign language. So the major finding in this article is how the result of the pre and the post task for the effect of the song on the development of vocabulary. So the result of the picture drawing and the result of the teacher reflection, the result of the this study contribution to exercise literature showing that the song can be used effectively effective pedagogical tools to teach and learn a vocabulary in a young learners classes. Some are perceived as a fun element both by learners and the teacher, which is help with the vocabulary development in the EFL classroom. Therefore, using a song is a one of method to teach vocabulary to young learners to provide them that with the opportunity to have fun while learning. So I think this is the one that I article that I read it that is have a lot of impact because we know that a song is one of the good thing to improve our vocabulary while we in the children, while we in the young learners or something or until now. Maybe song is the really effect of development to our vocabulary. So the next, okay. So next is about promoting vocabulary building, learning motivation, and a cultural identity representation through digital storytelling for young Indonesian learners of English as a foreign language by Dana Kustiwan, Sandy Ferdiansyah, and Michelle Pichard. So the general problem is in this journal is the content of focus exercise but there's a language activity which is emphasize grammar practice, allow a little space for English for communication purpose, and consequently a student tend to lack engagement engagement motivation when they learning English. Feel it as a meaningless activity that forces from their everyday realities. And the finding major are divided into the three finding. The first one is the student expression of their identity through the DST, digital storytelling, to convey the local culture through image, the sounds and the genre. They are by expressing their emotion and identity. Student and adjustment in the meaning making a true DST. In this section, the student work on the text to complete the project. Identity relate to lexical content used in the selected cultural them. And the last finding is the effect of a local digital story project that learning pedagogy on the vocabulary acquisition. The effect of the ST is the student have ability to explain the word clearly and simply because they had a sufficient lexical input on the local culture and the content of a vocabulary. Digital storytelling text also helped the student to collaborative draft sentences and development meaningful paragraph using the vocabulary item in the content and using image to visualize the story enables student to achieve a deeper level of a meaning maker compared to traditional storytelling. So, okay, so the next is okay, next is the impact of implementing augmented reality and to enhance the vocabulary of young learners by Colbert B. Hamura and Sultan Al Sabab. So the general problem area is the complexity of the vocabulary languages, connolex, sorry, the wide range of the lexical item and their diversity of its diversity is not easy to consider learning and acquiring vocabulary using on one theory or method. This is supported by Smith statement that is it is a common observation that there is a currently no overall theory of vocabulary acquisition. So the finding major is the seek to contribute to the small but growing area of research regarding technology potential in the field of vocabulary research. The study aims to determine the usefulness of augmented reality (ER) technology in EFL vocabulary learning. This study provides future research with the opportunity to further investigate the use of technology vocabulary learning. Next. Okay. The next is the chatting with AI bot, vocabulary learning assistant for a Saudi Arabia learner. So by Riem also did. So the general problem area is language learning and practice has improved for the second languages learning, especially for the at the beginning and intermediate level. And the chatterbot usually have a large lexicon, which can make the excellent tools for conversation practice and vocabulary acquisition. And the finding major in this material is six to identify which tools are mostly used when EFL learner are practicing English with a chatterboard. It also says the determinant which tool can help most in vocabulary learning, as well as rendezvous. Actually, about AI, this is really interesting because we know that AI really have a lot of contribution with our era right now. But I think it's good for us to learn vocabulary for AI. But there are many like bad the weakness from the AI for our material for our learning vocabulary. Okay, the next is a surprising effect in the vocabulary learning. Young EFL learner in the focus by Abi Reza, Latlafi, and Hadi Salehi. So the general problem in this area is a Persian language EPL have shown that vocabulary language is an essential prerequisite for reading comprehension reported that in order to understand the text, learners are required to understand 95 until 98% of the word of the text, but acquiring a large number of a word does not happen is incidentally. And the major finding from the this article is spacing and repetitive practice is a technique with a corrective feedback to offer a pedagogically powerful approach to for learning vocabulary. Special practice is a powerful method to improve learning and retention. And the time has come back to the look at the ways of implementation this technique into the EFL classroom. This study implies that vocabulary learning using a word list is not only beneficial for adults at high level, but also it can be beneficial for children at the elementary school level. Next. Okay, so the next is an efficacy investigation of a teaching aids used by English teacher in the teaching vocabulary for young learners by Igede Heri Sanjaya, Nilu Putu Eka Sulistia Dewi, and Anak Agung Gede Yuda Paramata. For the general problem in this area is the dominant type of a teaching aid used by the English teacher to teach English to the young learner is audio visual, which is a combination of visual and audio aids was suddenly used by teacher. So this in this material in this article there are the three finding major. For the first, it is recommended to the English teacher to also learn basic computer skill in order to be more updated about the teaching technology such as electronic teaching aid and also further invitation for the invitation in the teacher. And the second is it is recommended for a school to always check the quality and also quantity of the provided tools and device to so the teacher can use it in the classroom comfortably and effectively. And the last is a for the future researchers. The result of this study can be used as comparison, a reference, and as a consideration to develop further research. So the next is an evaluation of the use of flashcard for teaching vocabulary at the kindergarten in the same town by Henry Elisa and Tucci. So flashcards about flashcards. So the general problem area is about vocabulary play an important role in determining the student ability for speaking because it is like a basic before the children can produce a word. Therefore, the teacher needs to media tools to introduce the word to their classroom student and in the classroom. So the research aim on the defining major of this article is to evaluate the effect of using a flashcard media for teacher vocabulary and identify the teacher response toward the use of a flashcard media for teaching vocabulary and kindergarten in the Sintang region, the West Kalimantan. From the result of the research, it is found that the flashcard is a very effective teaching media that could apply for teaching vocabulary to young learners in the classroom. During the process of the teaching, the teacher must be able to flashcard effectively, and it is needed to the teacher creativity to design interesting flashcard, the color, size, shape, the the picture also. Flashcards have an impact on the student ability to reach vocabulary in learning process and increase the classroom atmosphere because the students were more enthusiastic. By using the flashcard, the students were enthusiastic and can be managed because they were focusing on the teacher when the teacher show flashcard to them while mentioning the name of the pictures it appears. So the research are highly recommended to the kindergarten and use of flashcard and the teaching vocabulary. So this is the second um, technique that I think this is a really useful. It's very good for the young learners as well, like the song, because we know that the young learners have a lot of uh, like difficult to motivate them about how to make our vocabulary more. So I think flashcard and song is good for the kindergarten or young learners for improving our vocabulary. Okay, the next is the application of cognitive language teaching or method in the vocabulary teaching. So the general problem area is about young learners consider that English is a complicated language since they must learn a new word which is they don't know how before. And in English, learning as a Persian language, vocabulary play an important role in the communication both the speaker, both the spoken and written, by both the speaking or written. So this research aims to show that uh, that uh, that all the students give a positive responses to use of the picture and the game and the vocabulary learning. They felt that the picture and the game in the CLT communication language teaching could help them understand the word meaning more easily motivate them to learn vocabulary since the classroom activities were more interesting. Teaching English vocabulary through the CLT method has some advantage as well. Then the student can improve their vocabulary and pronunciation to speak in English as a target language. CLT method is also allow the student to use English in the meaningful context. It can be adapted to any level and it is suitable for a class comparison student with a different linguistic background and a variety level of a communication competence. It is also able to create fun learning activity and relaxed atmosphere. Okay, this is the last of the article. So the last is improving young learners vocabulary mastery through the game-based learning of a Muffin Mystery Box by Safia Ani Vidyaningrum, Safira Arita, and Naila Altar. So the general problem is about teaching our English to young learner is the level of English proficiency. proficiency of the teacher, as well as the some new obstacle, particularly in the terms of the technique was policy. Uh, Teaching English for young learners also required to recreatify to make a learning fun. So the research aims to can help the student to absorb the material easily to using a game. Our student can find varieties and stimulate to and entertain the student. So this is the number three that I think the one of the best. So okay. Okay, so this is the last of the um, article review. But I think I would like to uh, a little bit summarize for the while I'm reading and learning about the 10 article. So there are three material that I think this is a really suitable for us to learning to teach young learners. So the first one is song. I think song it's a really helpful to us teaching young learners because they are really like to like sing a song like the wheels on the bus go round and round. So this the one of the thing that children as really attracted to the song really like to learning about song because it's really fun because it's really make them like happy at the moment. And the number two is what is that? So I think the number two is a game-based learning. So while we are learning by teaching them by summer games, maybe they can active every at the moment and enjoy the game while the game it is a learning method too. So I think that's really suitable for them. And then the last is flashcard. So I have been making a flashcard for my cousin. No, for for my uh assignment. Sorry, not for my cousin. For my assignment. So it is. I think that it is really good for learning, but for learning to the for teaching. Sorry, for teaching to the young learners by the flashcard because flashcard is really good because we can see the meaning in there, we can see the color, we can see the picture. So a young learner is very want to know it about the the word easily because they can see, oh, the color of the car is the blue, so the car is transportation and others like that. So maybe for the teaching vocabulary for young learners, it's not easy because we must have like a mini patient because we know that they are really and standing alone. They want to have a lot of things, happiness, go around the classes. So maybe uh, learning teaching for young learners is difficult, but if we know how to teach them as well, we can make them knowing how to learn some vocabulary and learning another subject, learning the other subject. So maybe that's all for me. Thank you so much for your attention, for your learning. I hope you enjoy my video. Thank you so much again. So see you in another video. Goodbye.